But the opposition continued with its protest.
कृपया जाइए, तुरंत चर्चा शुरू करिए। संसद का ये समय अमूल्य समय है, ये बहुत अमूल्य समय है। मैं निवेदन करता हूं, कृपया अपने सीट पे जाइए, चर्चा शुरू करिए।
The Congress party also took out a nationwide scrutiny and demanded an impartial probe into Hindenburg report. Former party president Sonia Gandhi penned a scathing article in a leading daily and alleged that LIC and SBI were forced to invest in poorly managed companies which were owned by the government's chosen friends.
सरकार को डिस्कशन अलाउ करना चाहिए। आप देखना पूरी कोशिश होगी, और ये सरकार नहीं, मोदी जी पूरी कोशिश करेंगे कि पार्लियामेंट में अदानी जी का डिस्कशन ना हो जाए।
हमारा मुद्दा ये है जो आज गड़बड़ी पूरे देश में हो रही है, नेशनली और इंटरनेशनली जो ये सब्जेक्ट आज उठा है, इसके ऊपर मोदी जी जवाब दें।
While speaking to News18 Group Editor-in-Chief Rahul Joshi, Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman spoke about the matter and claimed that SBI and LIC's exposure is well within the permitted limits.
Indian banking sector today is at a comfortable level. One instance, however much talked about globally it may be, I would think is not going to be indicative of how well Indian financial markets are governed.
I will answer the first
Not
question.
only this, SBI chairman, while speaking to CNBC, claimed that their overall exposure in the Adani Group is just about 0.88% of the loan book. But the opposition plans to continue to corner the government until their demand for a JPC probe is met. The parliament hasn't functioned for a single day since Finance Minister's budget speech. The BJP questions for how long will the exchequer's money would be wasted like this. Congress continues to demand accountability. Well, yes, opposition has all the right to demand accountability, but we talk about what substance is on record. As I said earlier, is there even prima facie evidence available in the public domain by authorities or by any regulator or by trusted institutions in this country to claim that this nature of so-called scam really happened? Joining us on the broadcast is Tushar Gupta. He's a senior editor of the Swaraj magazine. Gurdeep Sapal, who's a spokesperson of the Congress party. Mr. Rashid Kidwai, who's an author and senior journalist, is with us on the broadcast. Professor Aman Agarwal, who's the director of Indian Institute of Finance, and Dheeraj Sharma, who's the director from IIM Rohtak. Good evening, gentlemen. Thank you so much for speaking with us. Gurdeep Sapal, I'm coming to you first. There's a demand that the opposition has made on the floor of the House. Help our viewers understand, help the electorate, help the people understand what is the evidence on record to demand this kind of joint parliamentary committee. I remember when there was the coal scam, when there was a 2G, there were scathing reports that had come in from the CAG office, which is a constitutional body recognized in this country. Based on a report which is of foreign origin, whose credentials may be doubted, can we really demand an inquiry of this nature?
Yeah. I'll begin by saying that, okay, let us assume that Hindenburg is a company which thrives, which profits from short selling, and its credibility is under some suspicion. I give some credit to that.
Okay.
But let us also realize that Forbes, the New York Times, and today Wall Street Journal, they are not the fake news agencies. In last 4 days, they have come out with multiple reports. Today, if you have read Wall Street Journal's report today, they have clearly brought out that one of the investors, offshore investors, was Opal Investment. Adani company, Adani Group clearly gave a statement that they have no investment in Opal Investments. They have no link with Opal Investment. Wall Street Journal did its own investigation and came out with the fact that Opal Investment is floated by Trust Link, whose directors are Vinod Adani, the brother of Gautam Adani, and Subir Mitra, who's the CEO of Adani Power. Now, same company is investing into Adani Power. Now, Wall Street Journal is not a fake news, a doubtful news platform. It's a credible, one of the most credible newspapers globally. How can we ignore this?
Okay.
How can we say that these multiple instances of round-tripping the investment through offshore companies, through shell companies, is without any basis? Has government done any investigation? Modi ji has time and again said that he will be acting against the shell companies. He has said it from Lal Killa. He has said it from in the parliament. He has always claimed that he has acted very strongly against these shell companies. Why is government not doing? And let us also realize,
Mr. Sapal,
this
for
round
the benefit of our viewers, the core and the fundamental argument that you have made here is that Wall Street Journal and certain other foreign publications are publications which have some credibility, and if there are any kind of allegations which are made in those publications, then are you really saying that on the basis of that there can be a joint parliamentary committee constituted by the Parliament of India? More importantly, you're a learned man, and I ask this question to you. Can a criminal investigation be initiated in this country based on newspaper reports? What's the law of the land? Yes. I ask you, sir.
I'll just remind your viewers that there was a case called Bofor's case. There was a news report by Swedish radio, just a news report. On the basis of that report, the entire thing unraveled. A JPC was formed. Later, it was proven that that was a all false case. That's a separate matter. But JPCs and investigations are done only on the basis of reports. Do you think that first some Indian agency will give, only then Indian government will act? Indian government will not act on any other reports? And also, let us also be very clear about it. This Benami transaction, Benami purchase of shares through a round-tripping thing is a crime under money laundering. It comes under ED. It comes under ED's powers, and the maximum punishment is 7 years. It's a very serious crime. ED, we know, has been proactive in last few years. Why is ED silent on this? Okay. These are not small allegations. These are proven allegations by foreign media. These are proven allegations even by some journalists in India. Then it did not take off. Now it has taken off.
Sir, I am reminded of two controversies in the recent past. Tushar Gupta, coming to you. Pegasus and Rafale, these were two issues that were spoken much about by the opposition parties. Pegasus, in fact, even went to the Supreme Court. Rafale went to the Supreme Court. There was also a special committee that was constituted on the Pegasus matter, and nothing much really came out of it. It was a dampener. Rafale, once again, was an issue that was evoked by the opposition parties, and once again, it failed to find any kind of ground with the electorate of the country. Is this yet another issue of the same nature? Because the argument of the Congress and the opposition parties is that, look, just because the Indian agencies don't have any kind of evidence, that doesn't mean you're going to ignore any kind of credible report that comes in the foreign media. You should pay heed to it, and the demand of a joint parliamentary committee is well within the convention. Tushar.
Anusha, but the problem is when we say credible report, the question mark about credible is quite big. Let's talk about 5 major issues, what the opposition is raising. They say the retail investor money is lost. But of the all Adani holdings, retail investor money is less than 1%. And who are in the stock market are willing to take that risk. They say that public money through LIC and SBI is being lost. LIC has already come out with a statement saying their exposure is less than 1%. Then there is also the question of PSB money that the public sector banks will sink. That is what the opposition was saying to all the media channels during their protest today. The long-term debt profile of Adani Enterprises has come down since 2016 so much that today of all the outstanding debt in terms of long-term, only 25% of it is owed to the public sector banks. Number 4, Anusha, it's not uncommon for companies to lose 60% of their market cap. You look back at the last year and a half, all big tech companies have lost. But has the Congress in the United States ordering an investigation? Hold on.
That Adani Group may be doing very well or they may not be doing very well. That's one part of the debate. But to link that alleged irregularity or some kind of problem that has happened financially within the group to the government is a second argument altogether. What you're basically arguing is that the stocks have fallen. Adani Group, the manner in which it's involved in with the government, that's how they've raised money. And this is public money which has been put at stake. I think that's a very serious charge to make, and there should be some evidence to corroborate that.
I'm not making that charge. I'm saying that the opposition is making that charge and they are wrong. They are saying LIC's money is sinking, but LIC itself is saying that our investment in Adani is less than 1% and even that is safe. The opposition is saying that public sector banks are losing money, but the exposure of the public sector banks to Adani Enterprises is also low. The charges are being made by the opposition and they do not have any evidence. And all they're latching onto is a report by self-proclaimed proud short sellers whose job is to create hysteria in the market and make money. For the opposition, these short sellers, professional short sellers, are more integral than the Indian agencies. That's my problem. And another thing, Anusha, let's say today we have a joint parliamentary committee because Adani's share price has fallen. Tomorrow, of the dozen or big companies listed on the Bombay Stock Exchange, every time a share price crash happens, will we call for a JPC? Isn't this government interference in private businesses? And most important question, the opposition is making this charge that retail investor money is being lost. The retail investor share in Adani Holdings is less than 1%. Most of it is owned by Adani himself, then the foreign institutional investors, then the public sector bonds. So at the end, if anyone is losing money, it's Adani, not the public. So one doesn't understand why opposition is making these shallow charges which have no base altogether.
No, that's and I agree with you that Mr. Sapal, a quick response from you, then I'll go to the other guests. Yes, please go ahead.
Yeah, I carefully heard what Mr. Tushar said. He did not comment at all on the shell companies, offshore companies from where round tripping is happening. He's relying his argument on LIC issue. Let me share with your viewers. 5 years back, there was a pension fund of UP Power Corporation Limited, UPPCL. It was invested in DHFL. DHFL was a sinking company that time. Modi government went ahead, arrested the former CEO, the CFO, the board people of that of UPPCL, and they were behind bars for, I think, more than 3 years. And the allegation was the public fund was invested in a scam-ridden company. Now, why doesn't the same argument apply to LIC, which reinvested last week after this scam was opened up? You can't have two arguments. Number two, he is not at all commenting on the shell companies. Fine. I'll ask 3 more questions. In how many cases abroad, Modi government has given sovereign guarantee to the biddings made by Adani Group? How many companies? How many projects in India have been taken over by Adani Group after NCLT's decisions, which is other companies handed over to Adani's? And third is, what is the average size of haircut, which is the rebate in the banking transactions, which is dues, banking dues, which has been given to Adani Group? It will clarify the relationship of Modi government and Adani Group. So they're not talking about it. They're hiding behind either it's an attack on India. Today I read the tweet by Virendra Sehwag.
No, Mr. Sapal, one second. No, you've raised some pertinent questions. I'm giving that to you. You've raised some pertinent questions. You've raised certain technical questions. But the absence of this information in the public domain or sketchy details available in the public domain doesn't in any way prove the government guilty. Yes, there are grounds on which perhaps... Sir, please let me finish my argument and then we can take this to other panelists as well who are with us on the broadcast.
Allow me to
and the fact that there are various details which are still awaiting answers, perhaps the regulators are the best placed people to answer all these questions. I want to take these questions to Professor Aman Agarwal and Dheeraj Sharma as well. Sir, I'll come back to you. Sir, I'll come back to you. I want to bring in other guests as well into the discussion. Professor Aman Agarwal, coming back to you. There are some serious questions that have been raised by the opposition parties, including the Congress party. This entire bogey of allegations that there is some kind of special relationship that exists between the government and the Adani Group, do they have any kind of prima facie evidence available on record to accuse the government of these misdoings?
You see, first of all, there is no evidence of any nature which is there which clearly shows any kind of collusion between either the government or even public sector undertakings and the Adani Group in particular. It is very, very normal for banks and financial institutions to invest in large corporations and the shares of large corporations so that they can earn revenue, which gets given out in the form of, savings, interests and dividends at times even to the government of India. So this is done in a very calculated manner. I think both the chairmen of large corporations which have been accused have come out and made statements stating that the total investment in these group is very small, is minuscule, not small, but minuscule to the effect, has no impact on the revenue generation of these banks, and it is nothing to do with the main functioning of these banks or LIC, which is an insurance company. So it's no use making hue and cry out of this. However, you see, we have made a lot of noise of a news which came from overseas, which also had little relevance going forward. And it came at a very specific time when the budget of this country was being launched and was to be debated in the parliament. And then also to the fact that there were one of the large companies where the chairman was holding a top rich position in the world, who had been acclaimed recently, had certainly been brought into question, and there has been a low valuation as a result of what news came in. I think the regulators, which are primarily the SEBI, the BSC and the NSC, are already doing their due diligence in terms of trying to investigate if something is there. Any such kind of a noise which comes in from any part of the world is certainly bound to be investigated, and is done by these watchdogs, as we call them, from time to time. And they don't need to come out in public media or report to public at large immediately till a substantial evidence is found. Thirdly, which I'll just like to say a few seconds more, is that, the stock markets, the stock exchanges like the BSC and the NSC have computer-based systems where if there is an excessive ticking which takes place above a certain zone, up or down, this stock is automatically put on hold, and investigations are made by the exchange to these companies wherever the stock has happened, or those brokers who have done those kind of trades. We do not see any of such nature of impact which has been felt. So to even claim the counter evidence which the Adani Group has put, and the PIL which the advocate M.L. Sharma ji has raised, which is on 400 BC, that is 420, and not specifically which mentions about short selling, is not a clear evidence as of today in terms of any kind of an impact which is there. So we are actually reading too much between the lines and trying to cook up stories which are actually making more harm to both this country and the corporate India of this country.
Well, Mr. Agarwal, I agree with you that the regulators here in this case, if at all there is a misdoing, need to do their job. And I think the fate of that PIL is very well known, considering the fact that it has been filed by somebody who is known to file such PILs in the Supreme Court. So I don't see much really happening on that front. Let's see what the Supreme Court says on there. Mr. Dheeraj Sharma, coming to you and taking in a word from you. The regulatory framework of this country is sound enough to deal with situations like these. And the finance minister went ahead and made a very strong statement, a reassuring statement, that LIC and SBI have minimal exposure to Adani Group. The finance minister also said that she is aware via statements that have been made in the public domain by the LIC that even right now at this point in time when the shares have plummeted, the company is sitting on a profit. That's a note of reassurance coming in from the finance minister. But is our regulatory system well equipped to deal with such serious charges that have come in maybe from a foreign publication and the opposition is demanding accountability?
Well, I again go back to the same argument which was made earlier. I think the very foundation, there is a conflict of interest. You see, Hindenburg itself is a short seller. And it is in their interest to do research of this manner. So there is an obvious conflict of interest between their interests and what are the outcomes which are happening right now. Second, I think SEBI has already put Adani's various, I think 2 or 3 company stocks on immediate surveillance, and they are monitoring these activities. Let us have faith in the outcomes of what SEBI tells us a few weeks down the line. I believe we must also have faith in our banking institutions, which would be able to tell us in terms of solvency. I really encourage via your channel that there are numerous financial institutions, including the IIMs. We are undertaking an examination in our institution of the Hindenburg report to examine, do those really insinuations really merit any further look? But on the face of it, it is quite obvious that this makes me recall of what George Soros had done to the Thai economy way back in 1995, 96, 97, with the agenda of thwarting the Thai economy. The quantum funding company of George Soros at that point in time short sold and created a ruckus in the Thai economy, and the Thai economy suffered for the next 4 or 5 years. I think I suspect similar thing. Indian economy is buoyant. We are growing at about 6-7%. It is a challenge for the world to come up with the other economies which could be at 6 or 7%.
Okay.
And therefore,
Okay.
I think some of these short sellers and some of these agencies are hell-bent on creating disturbance and otherwise growth of our economic situation. And growing
I
at
take
6,
that
7%
argument. I
a
see
year.
that Tushar and Mr. Sapal have a point to make. But before that, I want to go to Mr. Rashid Kidwai. He's been patiently listening to all the arguments. Mr. Kidwai, I want to understand this from you. The technicalities of the matter, the manner in which the regulatory bodies are going to look at this matter, all of that is something that we'll know in the days to come, and whether the opposition is able to, sustain the momentum around this entire issue. But do you really think that this is one issue which they can take to the people and say, look, the government is not really doing its job? Because that's, end of the day, it's the political messaging that needs to go right. Mr. Kidwai.
Yes, Anusha. So, in the face of it, it appears prima facie the dal mein kuch kala hai. And that's how it happened. Having covered politics for years, I can tell you anytime there is a kind of whiff of a scandal or so, there is first line of, defense or attack, whichever way you look at it, come from that, we shoot the messenger and we say that there is a conspiracy. I've seen it, from, historical documents when the Mundra case came up first time in Jawaharlal Nehru cabinet, when the finance minister of the country had to resign. That was the first, major financial scandal. Throughout Bofors, throughout, bank securities scam, there is always the thing that, this is media, this is not credible. I don't know why, when the government is in a role of an umpire, is detached from, particular business houses or corporates, why can't it order, impartial inquiry on its own? If there is a suspicion, if there is a cloud, if there is needed of suspicion, why are we saying that, no, nothing is wrong, our financial institutions are doing, and this thing that LIC has, such percentage, you look at volume, and volume makes a lot of difference. So if we are talking about,
so you are of the view, sir, you're of the view that volumes aside, or the quantum aside, if there is an allegation, there should be an investigation by an independent agency or a regulator, and the government should not be shy of it. Tushar, you have a point to make. Please go ahead.
Anusha, you've been raising the question of foreign publications during this show, and there's one important point I want to make. Just today, Bloomberg ran an article where they said that the Adani crisis is worse than the Evergrande crisis, that the real estate developer in China. The problem is Bloomberg won't tell its readers, or it won't tell the Indian viewers, that Evergrande was defaulting on its debt in 2021. But the banks in India have clearly said that we do not have a debt problem with Adani. We do not see a short-term liquidity problem with Adani. And Adani Enterprises today has prepaid loans worth $1.1 billion. So there is some hysteria which is being peddled by the Western agents. Again, we're not sentimental about the company. We don't care what Adani does or does not. But some things are quite obvious. Some things are quite obvious. How can you even compare a 300 billion worth real estate developer, which was defaulting on its bond payments for the last 2 years, which had to be rescued by the Beijing government, to Adani Enterprises, which is saying we do not have a liquidity problem, our assets look strong, we do not have a bond payment problem. So the attack is quite obvious here.
Mr. Sapal, I'm coming to you. Let's for a second, for the sake of the argument, believe that the demand for, a joint parliamentary investigation, and the opposition objectively believes in the right spirit, in an earnest spirit, that there should be an inquiry into the matter. The government is saying, look, we've got nothing to do with it. This is a private company which is involved in some kind of problem. They'll deal with it. Our interests are secure, and we don't think it's a matter worth discussion. That being the standoff between the opposition and the government, there are precious minutes of legislative time which is being lost, and is being lost consistently. I'm not blaming either the government or the opposition for it, but the kind of ruckus that we have seen on the floor of the House, that must stop. There should be legislative business that should be resumed. And more importantly, if the opposition thinks that there should be some kind of regulatory inquiry or some action here in India, are you going to move a complaint before a competent court or before a competent authority? Mr. Sapal.
Well, I'll answer to three parts.
Sure.
In 3 parts. Number one, the parliament is meant to deliberate on issues of public importance. Are we saying that this issue is not of public importance? Are we saying it? If the argument is that this is too trivial a matter, then it's a different matter. But certainly, in a case where 10 lakh crore, almost 10 lakh crore rupees have been wiped off, where there are allegations of shell companies, where there are allegations of round tripping, this is a serious matter, and Parliament must discuss it. Number two, all wise men here have not answered a simple question. Adani Power, in its latest report, quarterly report, said that it has no relationship with Opal investment. Wall Street Journal proves today that it has a relationship. Now, either this is true or false. If they say it is false, on what basis are these wise men saying it is false? And if it is true, why shouldn't ED inquire into it? ED is meant to inquire into these cases, not just political cases. That is our point. Now, issue is, will this government rise up to occasion only if the opposition party goes to a police thana and files a FIR, or does the government have some responsibility, some constitutional mandate to inquire into any such issue, be it private or public, and find out what the truth is? Are we saying that this government can get away by saying it's a private company?
No, I don't think whether it's the UP or the NDA, any government can get away.
No, I'm not talking of UP and NDA.
If the question is about public money. So just a brief reminder into the history. You would know that when there were serious questions in 2G and coal scam that were raised, it was none other than the Supreme Court of India that had to step in. The CBI and the manner in which state agencies were functioning was under the radar of the Supreme Court. I don't want to go back into all of that, but what I'm trying to say is that if the opposition is very sincere in the allegations that they are making, knock on the doors of constitutional institutions in this country, and any kind of foreign publication cannot be the judge, jury and executioner when it comes to the national interests.
I agree. We are not saying foreign publication should be the judge, jury and executioner. I am saying the government should be judge and government should be jury. That simple thing. How can we miss out this simple point that it is the constitutional mandate of the government to look into the charges and tell the people of India whether the charges are right or wrong? How can a government say, no, everything is false? And how can they hide behind this nationalism plank? This nationalism plank, I just now heard on your show also that it is hurting India's growth story. As if any big businessman has got right to commit any irregularity, then why have you created corporate ministry?
I think that kind of narrative will only dissuade us from the merit of the case. So I'm not going to indulge with that. I'm short of time. I thank you all for joining us on the broadcast, and I'll conclude the debate, gentlemen, by saying that if there are any allegations of irregularities that have been made, then the constitutional bodies and institutions here in India should investigate on these matters. Any kind of foreign publication, foreign authorities or government cannot sit in judgment and be the judge, jury and the executioner. We are slipping into a very short break. On the other side, the Ramcharitmanas showdown. Is Astha being politicized by certain parties in the state of Uttar Pradesh and Bihar?
As you rightly said, so these are the issues that they are raising. What they are saying is that it's an investment, it's a life savings of the common man that is being affected, and the central government is responsible for this because they are the ones who asked LIC as well as SBI to invest in the Adani shares. Now this is a protest dharna that is going on here right outside the LIC. They have their senior leaders, former MLA V. Shiv Kumar here under the District Congress Committee. They are here, they are protesting, they are demanding a joint a JPC into this entire matter. They want answers, they need this matter to be inquired. The Youth Congress leader Veena is here. So Veena, what are your major demands and why are you all organizing this protest across the country now?
See, our first and foremost major demand is that the Joint Parliamentary Committee should hold an in-depth investigation into this particular issue. Because as we all know, we are conducting this protest dharna in front of LIC. Life Insurance Corporation is a brand name that is trusted by millions and billions of common people of India. Also SBI and similar other public sector banks. So how can the central government compel these public sector organizations to invest crores of their public funds to a private company like Adani? What is the special interest that Modi government has got with this particular company? These are the questions. I was just going through an article. It says that post-Hindenburg report, Life Insurance Corporation, mutual funds and FII investors have together lost over 2 lakh crore rupees in just a span of 7 trading sessions. This clearly shows the depth into which the Indian share market and the Adanis are going down. So this is an alarming situation, and that is the sole reason why for the public we are in front of the LIC. We are actually conducting this dharna.
But the other side of what the questions that are coming is that this report itself is, there are some problems with it. And also the fact that this is, there are also claims that this is an attack against an Indian company, so against the nation.
See, I have two questions to the government. It's just over 1 or 2 weeks since the BBC documentary has been screened all over India. We Youth Congress have also screened it in whole of Kerala. Their major contention was that the BBC documentary is against the nation. But we say that that BBC documentary was against Modi alone. That was their first contention with respect to that issue. And after the after the Hindenburg research has come out, report has come out, now they are saying that this sole issue is against India.
Fireworks that have been witnessed in the parliament because of the Adani revelation that has happened when it comes to the Hindenburg research that in fact has spoken about how Adani's in fact have ended up duping the country and the world, and that's why his position, Gautam Adani's position as the third richest person in the world has slipped down to 16th. So there's been fireworks that have been witnessed in the parliament once again over Adani Enterprises and the Hindenburg matter. Protests currently are being led by the Congress, and they are taking place all over the country as well. That is the reaction that's coming in. So it's spiraled out of the parliament. It has now branched out to the rest of the countries. There are people who are protesting at the SBI and Welcome back. You're watching Brass Tacks. The Yogi government in Uttar Pradesh has slapped NSA against 2 individuals who burned the copy of Ramcharitmanas, sending a strong message from the government. Former minister in the Yogi cabinet and now SP leader, SP Maurya, has now kicked up a controversy by alleging that certain verses of Ramcharitmanas insult Dalits and OBC, demanding a ban on the much-revered text. He has also accused the Uttar Pradesh government of targeting him as he fights for the dignity of Dalits and OBCs. You also had the RJD leader and Bihar Education Minister Chandrasekhar targeting Ramcharitmanas, claiming that it spreads hatred. This has led to divisions in the coalition government in Bihar, where many JDU leaders have condemned the RJD Neta. What do all these statements indicate? Are parties like SP seeking a political revival with the already dated Mandal politics? The BJP in many ways has already rewritten the electoral grammar by successfully gaining votes from all sections, including the Dalits and the OBCs. Will this insult to Ramcharitmanas and an attempt to use religion for politics backfire? News 18's editor-in-chief Rahul Joshi had an exclusive conversation with UP Chief Minister Yogi Adityanath on Sunday, where he slammed the opposition for insulting Ramcharitmanas. The Chief Minister further argued that any attempt to divide the society on the caste lines is bound to fall. Now listen in to this excerpt to this conversation and we dive into the debate next.
एक विवाद पिछले कुछ दिनों में, कुछ महीनों में जो चला है, वो है रामचरितमानस का विवाद, और ऑपोजिशन जो है इस पर काफी हावी है, इस पर चर्चा करती जा रही है। आपका क्या मत है इस पर? आप इसको कैसे देखते हैं?
देखिए, जब भी उत्तर प्रदेश के अंदर विकास के किसी बड़े प्रोजेक्ट को लेकर के, बड़ी योजना को लेकर के, बड़े कार्यक्रम को लेकर के हम लोग आते हैं, तो जिन लोगों ने विकास के बारे में कभी सोचा ही नहीं, जिनकी डेवलपमेंट की कोई सोच नहीं है, जो विकास नहीं बल्कि विभाजन पर विश्वास करते हैं, तो वे लोग इस प्रकार की कोई न कोई बयानबाजी अपना शुरू कर देते हैं। उत्तर प्रदेश के अंदर ग्लोबल इन्वेस्टर समिट एक बड़ा आयोजन है, और इसके साथ ही G20 का समिट, यह उत्तर प्रदेश के लिए भी और देश के लिए भी एक अवसर है, जब वैश्विक मंच पर हम लोग अपनी छवि को, अपने सामर्थ्य को प्रस्तुत करने का एक अवसर हमें प्राप्त होगा। तो विकास और इस प्रकार के अवसर से ध्यान हटाने के लिए यह इस प्रकार की बयानबाजी है। इसके पीछे कोई अन्य हेतु नहीं है।
राजनीति में बैकवर्ड वोट्स को गैल्वेनाइज करने का एक ये तरीका भी हो सकता है।
देखिए, उत्तर प्रदेश की जनता बहुत विभाजन झेल चुकी है और विभाजन के कारण पहचान का संकट भी देख चुकी है। उत्तर प्रदेश की जनता अब बार बार विभाजनकारी ताकतों को ठुकराई है। 14 में ठुकराया, 17 में ठुकराया, 19 में ठुकराया और 22 में भी जवाब दे चुकी है
जी।
इसलिए अब कोई गुंजाइश नहीं बची है। वो लोग कितना भी माथापच्ची कर लें, उसके लिए कोई गुंजाइश नहीं बची है।
योगी जी, मैं आपसे इस बारे में भी पिछली बार पहले भी चर्चा कर चुका हूं। मैंने आपसे सवाल किया था कि आपका मुसलमानों से क्या रिश्ता है। मैं उसी सवाल को थोड़ा आगे ले जाना चाहता हूं कि मुसलमानों को आप कैसे जोड़ेंगे अपने साथ। मोदी जी भी आजकल कोशिश कर रहे हैं कि जो है पासमानदा मुसलमानों को जो है अपने साथ जोड़ा जाए। ये भी गरीब वर्ग है, पिछड़ा हुआ वर्ग है, इसको भी अपने संग जोड़ा जाए। तो आप इनको कैसे जोड़ेंगे?
देखिए, किसी को जोड़ने के लिए व्यक्ति, जाति, मत और मजहब नहीं, बल्कि शासन की योजनाओं के माध्यम से उनके साथ सीधे संवाद का कार्यक्रम। और आज उत्तर प्रदेश की कानून व्यवस्था अच्छी हुई है, पर्व और त्योहार शांतिपूर्ण तरीके से मनाए जा रहे हैं। अगर हिंदुओं के शांतिपूर्ण तरीके से कार्यक्रम हो रहे हैं तो मुसलमानों को भी शांतिपूर्ण तरीके से हो रहे हैं। आज सुरक्षा का एहसास, अगर हिंदू बेटी सुरक्षित है तो मुस्लिम बेटी भी सुरक्षित है।
आरएसएस के मोहन भागवत जी ने कुछ दिनों पहले कहा था कि हिंदुस्तान में मुसलमानों को डर के रहने की जरूरत नहीं है, इस्लाम को यहाँ कोई थ्रेट भी नहीं है, मगर उनको अपना एटीट्यूड थोड़ा बदलना पड़ेगा। हम बड़े हैं, हम एक समय राजा थे, हम फिर से राजा बनना चाहते हैं, ये छोड़ना पड़ेगा। क्या आप इस बात से सहमत हैं?
हाँ, माननीय सरसंघ चालक जी ने जो बात कही है एकदम सही परिप्रेक्ष्य में कही है। हमें तो भारतीय दृष्टिकोण को अपनाना पड़ेगा। अगर हम भारतीय सब हर नागरिक को जाति, मत और मजहब से ऊपर उठ करके पहले अपने को एक भारतीय नागरिक मानना पड़ेगा, अपने आप को। और भारत का दृष्टिकोण भी यही कहता है कि ये मेरा है, ये पराया है। ये तो छोटी बुद्धि के लोग करते हैं। विराट सोच वालों के लिए तो पूरी दुनिया ही एक परिवार है। तो सबको एक समग्र दृष्टि से देखने का प्रयास अगर हम करेंगे तो कहीं कोई विवाद ही नहीं होगा।
Well, by insulting Ramcharitmanas, why are sentiments being flared up and who will benefit from this politics? Taking this question to our guests who are joining us on the broadcast, Aditi Singh, who is the UP BJP MLA, is joining us on the broadcast. Vivek Silas, he is the spokesperson of the Samajwadi Party, is also joining us on the broadcast. Lokesh Jindal, he is a Congress leader. And Tushar Gupta, who is a senior editor of the Swaraj magazine, continues to be with us on the show. Vivek ji, आपके पास सबसे पहले आऊंगी. Coming first to you, the kind of statements which are being made by certain leaders of the Samajwadi Party, the question that is being raised is that are you trying to divide the Hindu community along the caste lines, something which may benefit the politics of Samajwadi Party and your prospects of future in the state of Uttar Pradesh? That's what your political opponents are saying. Please respond to that. Vivek ji.
Yes, ma'am. Very good evening, and to all the panelists, very good evening. Yes, ma'am. I was just listening to the Chief Minister Yogi Adityanath ji, what he was saying. Actually, I should say or suggest that Mr. Yogi Adityanath has no rights to say on Ramcharitmanas. I'll tell you why. There's a very strong reason behind it. There's a cabinet minister in Yogi ji's cabinet at present who said that Lord Ram is illegitimate. Illegitimate. He is not the child of Raja Dashrath, but instead he is a child of Singhi Rishi. That what was one of the worst remarks that has ever been made.
Vivek ji, can I make a request to you? Can I make a request to you? When we have debate on these very sensitive topics, which involve religious interests, sentiments and feelings of lakhs and crores of devotees in this country, I think while quoting anyone, we must be very careful as to who we are quoting, what is the content we are quoting, and is it likely to offend the religious sentiments of the viewers who are listening to this broadcast. So my request to all the panelists is that we will debate, we will openly discuss and talk about all the points, but I don't think any kind of sweeping comments, communally charged statement or a statement that is likely to evoke strong sentiments, adverse sentiments to the people who are watching this broadcast should be made. That's my appeal to all the panelists here on the broadcast. Vivek ji, go ahead. Why don't you talk about what the SP leader has said?
Yes, as far as the Samajwadi Party is concerned, we have full faith in Ramcharitmanas. We respect it, adore it, and love it. But as far as, let me tell you, neither Swami Prasad Maurya nor Chief Minister Yogi Adityanath ji, neither our National President Akhilesh Yadav are the incarnation of Lord Vishnu. They are all human beings. Let me tell you first that. If we have any, neither Saint Tulsidas was the incarnation of Lord Vishnu. He was also a human being. Well, anyway, whatever he has predicted, written, or translated into the Ramcharitmanas, there are few lines which we don't agree to. That is the thing. We are not. There is a difference, ma'am. Let me
what do
tell
you,
you.
What do you have to say about the people
Ramcharitmanas.
who burnt Ramcharitmanas? उन लोगों के बारे में आपकी क्या राय है?
No, any religious text, be it the Ramcharitmanas or any other, holy text, we are just against it. You never know.
Can I also ask you another question? That there may be particular text in Ramcharitmanas, Tulsidas Ramcharitmanas, and anybody who has studied the Hindu religion or Sanatan religion or even Ramayana would know that there are various hundreds of oral traditions and variations of Ramayana that exist. This story for thousands of years has been told and told multiple times. So good that as a thinking individual, there are certain texts and verses that you don't agree with. But this targeted attack on one kind of religious scripture, does it show the kind of politics that Samajwadi Party stands for? Because I have not heard Samajwadi Party or any other political party in this country taking pot shots at any other religious text, barring the text of the Hindu religion.
No, actually, this is, what the Bharatiya Janata Party should reply. The Honorable Prime Minister, when he was in the Lok Sabha, what was he saying? This my minister belongs to this sect, my minister belongs to that sect. He's from the OBC, he's from the from the minority. Such things he spoke on the floor of the Lok Sabha. We all saw it. And during the elections, who said Ali Bajrang Bali, Shamshan Kabristan? These were all spoken by the Bharatiya Janata Party. And Yogi Adityanath also said that Lord Hanuman was a Dalit just to get votes. And when we were having a coalition and fighting against the Bharatiya Janata Party with the Bahujan Samaj Party, the same Chief Minister, the Honorable Chief Minister said, ये तो सांप और छछूंदर का गठबंधन है. तो अगर OBC और दलितों को if the Chief Minister says सांप और छछूंदर, should we raise the voice? We have to raise voice. And we have to stand for the OBC and the backward and
Aditi ji, I want you to come into the discussion. There are some allegations which are being made against the Chief Minister. Hi. It is being accused that it is in fact the BJP which is responsible for raking this kind of politics on the lines of religion. Respond to these allegations. Aditi Singh.
Firstly, I completely agree with my Chief Minister when he says that these are all just distraction tactics, given that we have a huge investor summit coming up. There's a global investor summit. For the first time, ministers and bureaucrats from our state were sent out not just to different cities in the country, but to different countries themselves to bring in investment, to try to just uplift and, for the upliftment and betterment of the state. Whilst this is going on, Swami Prasad Maurya ji is making all these very controversial statements about one of our most sacred texts. I don't understand. If you have an opinion, you state an opinion. I understand that.
Sure.
But what is the need of actually burning these texts? What is the point of why the drama around burning Ramcharitmanas, burning this sacred text and hurting religious sentiments? It's very, very obnoxious of them. It's very, very decisive politics. And end of the day, one must realize that, the people have spoken. The same gentleman, Swami Prasad Maurya ji, for the last 5 years of our government, he enjoyed all the perks of being a minister, a very powerful minister at that. His daughter is still a member of the Bharatiya Janata Party. If he's so against everything that the party stands for, if he's so principled, as he says, why has he not made his daughter resign? The Samajwadi Party talks about, they seem so conflicted in their own minds, in their own party, about where they stand. You're saying that you respect this text, you're saying that it's sacred for you, and then you're also promoting the same people. You must have, as you probably realize, as everyone did see, that a day or so after this very controversial remark, Swami Prasad Maurya was promoted within the party ranks and made a general secretary of the party.
Yeah.
So what message are you sending out? Are people just blindly, do you think people are not taking cognizance of the fact that you're actually promoting someone instead of reprimanding them or punishing them, or in fact even sending them a show cause notice? You're promoting them. The message is very loud and clear that you are trying to A, hurt religious sentiments, B, practice divisive politics, and it's very clear. It's just a diversion tactic. The Samajwadi Party is very, very scared of this huge event that is a Global Investors Summit that all of us are very, very excited about. We've put in a lot of work and energy into this.
But
and it's an
I think it goes beyond the narrative of the Investors Summit or the development narrative that the Chief Minister also spoke of. Tushar, coming to you. I don't think in today's day and age, any devout Hindu who knows about Sanatan Dharma will really back the caste system, any kind of caste discrimination. And more importantly, the constitution of this country is not based on any religious text. Caste-based discrimination, untouchability is an offense in this country that has already been outlawed. But the manner in which these pot shots are taken at much revered Hindu texts in this country, what does it tell us about the politics of Samajwadi Party and various other, political parties, say like the RJD in the state of Bihar? Is this the return of Mandal versus the Kamandal politics, which is once again perhaps being engineered in the state of UP? At least that's the attempt which is being made.
I'll answer the second part first. Last year, Samajwadi Party suspended their student wing leader for supporting a former BJP spokesperson because she was doing the same thing the Samajwadi is doing today, interpreting a religious text. That's all. The problem was she was interpreting a religious text of a different religion, of which the Samajwadi depends upon for their votes. So what does it tell us, Anusha? It tells us that some opposition parties in India, starting with the Samajwadi, the RJD, even TMC for that matter, or Aam Aadmi Party in Delhi, they've given their leaders a free pass when it comes to hurting Hindu sentiments. Now, coming to the caste question, of course, the BJP has mastered the caste equation on the ground. It shows the way they are winning the election, one after the other. But the opposition parties now want to rake up this issue ahead of the Ram Mandir in 2024 and the national elections. Why they want to do it? Because they want to put the caste before the policy or the development as it suits their voting benefits. All they need to do is have the caste equation appease to the minority, which they do by insulting the Hindu sentiments at large. And that is what is going on. Would the Samajwadi dare to do this to any other religious text? They would not. They would instead call for criticism, call for investigation, or worse, suspend the leaders doing the same, which they did. But why does it happen when it comes to Hindu texts, scriptures? Everyone is a philosopher. Everyone wants to over-intellectualize. Why is not this, philosophical nature is there for other religions? Why?
And the most fascinating part is that unlike other religious laws, say the Sharia law, which is applicable in personal matters in this country, no part of Hindu law per se is the law of the land. It has been completely codified, reformed. There are constitutional provisions, fundamental rights that govern how the personal law codes are going to really operate in this country. Cutting across to the Congress leader Lokesh Jindal, who is also with us on the broadcast. Lokesh, how do you see this kind of politics, say from the Samajwadi Party or the RJD? The BJP says that because you don't have an answer to the development narrative, you're once again going to the old beaten narrative of the OBC versus the upper caste. You're once again trying to have some kind of divisions within the majority community so that your own political ambitions are satisfied.
Thank you, Anusha. Well, Anusha, if I talk about religion, it used to serve four important purposes. First was developing a system of ethics, morality, and civil laws. Second was social institutions like family, source of legitimacy that was political, and also a means of salvation for a common man. But in modern times, what happened? We did away with all other functions of religion, such as we had our own civil laws, UCC, we have a uniform civil code, we are heading towards a Hindu codified law. Social institutions are regulated by the government laws, and also the legitimization is done via elections, not via Rajyabhishek. So religion is supposed to be restricted to the realm of salvation. But what is BJP doing? BJP has politicized the religion. It has Sanskritized the society. And what has happened is it has dragged religion out of homes into the society at large.
How?
When
Give
you
me an
do
example.
that,
Give me an example.
the chief minister, who is basically heading a state from deriving itself from a secular constitution, he wears a bhagwa cloth, openly supports a particular religion and its belief system.
So
that is
the constitution.
No, one second. Let him make that argument, Tushar, let him make that argument. So I want to logically deal with
that
this.
is against the spirit of the constitution.
Okay. No, one second.
Secondly,
One second. We are going to halt right here. You quote me the provision of constitution that bars individual expression of religion.
No, I did not say that there is any bar on the individual's expression of religion.
The chief minister, despite being a constitutional functionary, has a right of individual expression of his religion. This is not a secularism like in countries. Yes. Do you know the first president of India, Dr. Rajendra Prasad, went ahead. No, listen to this. Dr. Rajendra Prasad, the first president of India, went ahead and attended the inauguration ceremony at the Somnath temple. He did that despite the objection coming in from Pandit Nehru, and he was still the first president of independent India. So don't try to spread this discourse that India's brand of secularism, it's not wrong. I am pretty certain of my facts, and more importantly, don't try to spread this entire narrative that India's brand of secularism is about.
Rajendra Prasad never believed in the Article 74 and Article 53.
India's brand of secularism is not about restricting individual faith or expression of individual faith. All right, let's move on. I believe, and I argue, Lokesh, that your entire argument is based on a flawed understanding of the constitution. Nothing stops anybody in this country from wearing a tilak, from wearing a skull cap, from even wearing a hijab while you're holding a constitutional office. Nothing stops you from doing that. Tushar, coming back to you.
Anusha, it's rather ironical that Lokesh Jindal has a problem with Yogi Adityanath being proud about his religion, about being the head priest at the Gorakhpur Mutt, but has no answer to why Rahul Gandhi is running temple after temple just before the elections. If this is religion, bringing religion into politics, what is Rahul Gandhi doing there? See, this is the problem. Everyone wants to take the Hindu sentiments for a ride. If it's a Hindu chief minister, he shouldn't be a practicing Hindu.
This is a kind of phobia which is often spread, that just because you express your religious identity, there's something intrinsically wrong with you. Vivek, I'm coming back to you. The kind of threadbare analysis which is done of Ramcharitmanas, wonderful it's done, and that is why Hindu religion is so reformist in its tendencies. Would any political party dare to do this kind of threadbare analysis of any other religious text in this country? Vivek?
Let me reply to Aditi first. She was saying that just because of the investors summit, we are creating such type of narrative in the society. The last time also we had a investors summit and a defense expo in Uttar Pradesh, and it badly backfired. There was a MOU of 4,40,000 crore rupees, and barely 39,000 crore rupees were invested. There was no substantial investment, ma'am. And first time in the history of Uttar Pradesh, the Uttar Pradesh Transport Corporation is in a loss of 200 crores under the regime of Yogi Adityanath. We can see what the depopulated conditions of the ambulances and the police vehicle. And if we talk about
I'm sorry, gentlemen, I'm completely out of time. I have to call it a wrap. Aditi Singh, Tushar Gupta, Vivek Silas, Lokesh Jindal. Sir, I'm sorry, I'm completely out of time. We only hope that, yes, you have to talk about caste discrimination in this country, and perhaps religious texts which spoke about it, if somebody in their individual wisdom really believes so. But these kind of targeted attacks on any religious text is perhaps not welcome in Indian democracy. With that, it's a wrap. Thank you for watching.
Vinaya, let me actually put that across to you as well. This is what has been the opposition's charge, that it is the Aam Aadmi the poor people who actually invest their life saving in things like the life insurance corporation of the country, they stand to lose massively because of what really has happened when it comes to this Adani stockgate. What is it that the people really are saying over there, considering the protests are happening in various parts of the country?
So we are right outside the LIC office here in Thiruvananthapuram in Pattam here. This is the main LIC office where the Congress workers have taken out the protest march and the dharna by about 11 a.m. today. So as you rightly said, so these are the issues that they are raising. What they are saying is that it's an investment, it's a life savings of the common man that is being affected, and the central government is responsible for this because they are the ones who asked LIC as well as SBI to invest in the Adani shares. Now this is a protest dharna that is going on here right outside the LIC. They have their senior leaders, former MLA V. Shiv Kumar here under the District Congress Committee. They are here, they are protesting. They are demanding a joint a JPC into this entire matter. They want answers. They need this matter to be inquired. Youth Congress leader Veena is here. So Veena, what are your major demands and why are you all organizing this protest across the country now?
See, our first and foremost major demand is that the Joint Parliamentary Committee should hold an in-depth investigation into this particular issue. Because as we all know, we are conducting this protest dharna in front of LIC. Life Insurance Corporation is a brand name that is trusted by millions and billions of common people of India. Also SBI and similar other public sector banks. So how can the central government compel these public sector organizations to invest crores of their public funds to a private company like Adani? What is the special interest that Modi government has got with this particular company? These are the questions. I was just going through an article. It says that a post-Hindenburg report, Life Insurance Corporation, mutual funds and FII investors have together lost over 2 lakh crore rupees in just a span of 7 trading sessions. This clearly shows the depth into which the Indian share market and the Adanis are going down. So this is an alarming situation, and that is the sole reason why for the public we are in front of the LIC. We are actually conducting this dharna.
But the other side of what the questions that are coming is that this report itself is, there are some problems with it. And also the fact that this is, there are also claims that this is an attack against an Indian company, so against the nation.
See, I have two questions to the government. It's just over 1 or 2 weeks since the BBC documentary has been screened all over India. We Youth Congress have also screened it in whole of Kerala. Their major contention was that the BBC documentary is against the nation. But we say that that BBC documentary was against Modi alone. That was their first contention with respect to that issue. And after the after the Hindenburg research has come out, report has come out, now they are saying that this sole issue is against India.
Fireworks.
Hello, Namaskar. This is First Post and you're watching Vantage with me, Palki Sharma. It's Monday. It began on a dreadful note in Turkey, 2 major earthquakes and multiple aftershocks. More than 1,000 deaths, many more injured. The pictures are chilling. We'll get your full report, also why Turkey is prone to such disasters. In Pakistan, no state funeral.